Morning, this is Felicity. I am coming to you from my library. I am going to be doing a couple different things this morning. One of them is to shamelessly ride on the coattails of Book Time with Elvis, who is doing a perfectly marvelous read through of my favorite novel, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. And he has the most wonderful delivery, so calm, so peaceful. It brings back almost effortlessly memories of my mother reading aloud to me and my three siblings when we were very, very young, till years after. And she read us everything. Every night, she would read us a chapter or a story or something else that was just the right length. For us to all be peaceful and listen to together. It might be a chapter from the Odyssey, or a chapter from something by Charles Dickens, or a fairy tale, or a chapter from The Hobbit, or when we were much younger, from the C.S. Lewis Narnia Chronicles. And I remember it increasing with increasing amounts of pleasure, thinking back on probably the only peaceful time that we had in our house all day, with four very active, lively children, all very close to each other in age. Right. So thank you, Mark, from Book Time with Elvis. I really appreciate your reading, and I'm going to do one myself. Well, it won't be Pride and Prejudice because you have taken the honors away for that one. But I am going to be reading from another one of my favorite authors, which is Lord Dunsany. Some really short, really sweet, really wonderful tales. And the other reason for choosing Dunsany is that I am also going to take a little break from social media. I've been getting a little too engaged with it, and it's always a good thing to step back, take a little time, and, well, yes, enjoy my library. I do a lot of armchair traveling from my library, but also just to take some time off from social media. So I'll be back. I will be back, but I do thank you all for the watching that you do, and the encouragement that the BookTube community in general has lavished on me. I'm not sure what I've done to earn it, but there you go. It's been lovely. So here we go. First of all, let me show my little Dunsany collection. Now I've got a Penguin Classic. Of course I do. I've got a bunch, but this one is Lord Dunsany in the Land of Time and Other Fantasy Tales. So Dunsany is a late acquisition of mine as an adult, much later young adult and adult. And I don't actually think I even read anything by Dunsany when I was in college and was discovering fantasy for the first time. But having found him, there was no looking back. He has a kind of an old style of writing, which I see flavors of this, of course, in Tolkien with that high epic style. It is not the literate wonder that the Lord of the Rings is, and Tolkien's novels in general are thinly disguised layers on top of amazing scholarly skill and knowledge. But Dunsany it's pretty fun. Anyway, so I've got all the books I could find. I've got all of the books I could find. I think that many of them, the famous tales, actually repeat themselves in all the books. But having looked through from time to time to see could I reluctantly jettison any of the volumes from my library, I kept coming across one or two in each volume, however small it was, how skinny it was, that wasn't in one of the others. Or if it was, the skinny volume was prettier. So there you go. Lord, this is the first of them, Lord Dunsany in the Land of Time, a Penguin Classic. The next one I have here is his one through novel, which I have, which is The King of Elfland's Daughter. And I think that's the only full-length novel he wrote. This is a really nice Ballantine trade paperback. Very pretty book with a little cover by, forgetting his name. The artist is one of the arts and crafts movement dudes. So, yeah, I know. Dudes, whatever. Anyway, very pretty cover. I like these. So Dunsany, The King of Elfland's Daughter. Read this a few times. Probably not going to read it anytime soon because right now short things are really very tasty. So there we go. This is another one. So now I have a whole set of these wonderful Dover reprints, which some of them actually have images in them that would have been in the original edition. Super tasty and super skinny, cute little things. So this is the Wonder Tales, and it is definitely included in some of the others, but I mean, Dover, it's so inexpensive. It's so pretty. I can have multiple copies and have pretty pictures on the cover, different pretty pictures on the covers of all of my books. So this is the Wonder Tales of Lord Dunsany. And I also have the Sword of Welleran and other stories. So each one of these little skinny volumes has the title story, the story that's on the cover. Another little skinny guy. It's not so skinny as the Hashish Man and Other Stories. And that is a much more contemporary picture. Now, who's the publisher of this? Well, let's see. How about I don't know. The Manic D Press in San Francisco. How about them apples? That's kind of cool. All right, Manic D Press, just like that, in San Francisco. All right, the Hashish Man and Other Stories. Here's one from Wildside Press. This is the Book of Wonder, and I'm guessing that it probably actually almost is probably going to have most of the Wonder Tales in it. I don't care. Really cool cover. And it is, I forget which one this one might have. It's different, but this is the introduction by Lynn Carter and John Gregory Betancourt. So each one of these often has, especially the non-facsimile ones, have intros by somebody that I care about, like, oh, in this case, Lynn Carter or Neil Gaiman. Yeah, okay, so this is the big fat one from, this is Gollancz, who's actually got a really great collection of science fiction and fantasy masterworks. In fact, that's why it's called Fantasy Masterworks, and there's also science fiction masterworks that Gollancz has come out with, and very respectable, not too typo filled, and really great, because if that's the only one you had, the print is, it's a little thin, but you know, whatever, and it's pretty nice if you would like to have most of the stories. There they are. So there's that, and the little guy that I've chosen to read from today's 51 Tales. This is a reprint of a particular volume. This again is Wildside Press. This one has got very nice font and it's incredibly readable, and my eyes are not as good as they used to be, and trying not to wear them out too much. This one has, these 51 tales are very short, and this one happens to also include, this is not the only book this is in, but it also happens to include one of my favorite little short stories by Dunsany. Right. Oh, in case you were wondering, yes, in the backdrop you will see a slightly different view of my library. I think I did one video in this corner, but I decided that I needed to kind of like change the angle because it looked a little weird when I did it before. But right behind me you will see my poetry collection, although it actually continues up the top. You can't see it. And of course to my right you see my Loeb library collection. Underneath that are just general classics, copies, Penguins, what have you, Aristotle, the portable Plato, all those guys that are the nice collected English translations of the classics. And below that, you really can't see, are my collection of books on books. And behind me to my left is the beginning of a very, very, very long swath of bookshelves that, continues on under the stairs. It's grand. There's another rocking chair under there. So that's while I'm having my little break from social media. You can imagine that I'm going to be there in my various chairs all over my library, escaping from reality a while. Wait a minute, social media, that's not reality, is it? I don't know. Whatever. I shall be escaping from something under the stairs. Anyhow, the story that I chose from the 51 Tales of Dunsany is very, very short. It's called The Songless Country. The poet came unto a great country in which there were no songs, and he lamented gently for the nation that had not any little foolish songs to sing to itself at evening. And at last he said, I will make for them myself some little foolish songs, so that they may be merry in the lanes and happy by the fireside. And for some days he made for them aimless songs such as maidens sing on the hills in the older, happier countries. Then he went to some of that nation as they sat weary with the work of the day, and said to them, I have made you some aimless songs out of the small, unreasonable legends that are somewhat akin to the wind in the vales of my childhood, and you may care to sing them in your disconsolate evenings. And they said to him, If you think we have time for that sort of nonsense nowadays, you cannot know much of the progress of modern commerce. And the poet wept, for he said, Alas, they are damned. The end. Right. And on that note, I shall bid you all a very pleasant, however long it is, before I see you again. This is Felicity, coming to you from my library and signing off for some period of time to take a little break from social media. Maybe go make some aimless, foolish little songs somewhere in my library. Bye-bye for now.